Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often turned with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. That's a hint.
Nice.
That's going to be a hint, because in this episode, are we going to expose the name SETI BIMCO, Tim? Is that the plan?
I think so, if people stick around.
And if our listeners think about it, who would make you memorize that speech? A plumber? I think not.
Maybe.
The CEO of an elevator company? I think not. Think about it, folks. You'll get it.
It's the SETI BIMCO Show. Can you believe it? It's episode 50. I didn't know Tim could count that high. Okay.
Well, we can easily start this episode by saying this is SETI BIMCO episode 50.
Woohoo!
Yay!
We did it.
And I'm being honest before we be all funny. I'm so happy you stuck with it for 50 episodes. I mean, you missed a few, but not because you wanted to.
Right,
and,
right.
Here we are, episode 50.
Episode 50. I'm so excited.
And
I wasn't sure how long we would have lasted. It's been fun.
No?
I've had fun doing it.
I hope
I've had
so.
a lot of fun doing it. I really have.
Somebody's calling on the phone.
Put him on hold.
It's George.
Put him on hold. Put him on hold.
Friend of the show, George O'Connor.
He's got nothing better to do. He can sit on hold for 45 minutes.
Now, did you see, before we go any further, the fish story? Did you see what I sent you?
I did see what you said.
So I found this headline. Fish spends owner's money, reveals credit card info on YouTube stream. So,
yes.
A Japanese YouTuber, he created a custom setup to allow his pet fish to play Pokemon on his Nintendo Switch, but a malfunction led to the fish spending money at the eShop and revealing the owner's credit card. And, there's a whole story about the malfunction. I don't know if you read the whole thing.
Yeah, right. Basically, in a nutshell, the fish was not sitting there at the controller. The fish would set off sensors.
Yeah.
And the sensors would control the Nintendo system.
But the funny thing at the end was the fish did something with PayPal and changed the account owner's name from Muda Kamaru, hope I said that right, to Ra 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 Ra.
That was
It doesn't sound like an accident to me.
It doesn't. And Nintendo did. I mean, can you imagine being at Nintendo customer service and getting that call? They did refund his money. He probably had to change his credit card number since it went over YouTube. But no, you got to watch your fish, man. You got to watch your fish.
I think fish are becoming more intelligent.
I'll tell you what. We had a fish tank at our house growing up, and my dad left his checkbook next to the fish tank. And I'll be damned, the guppies got hold of it, started writing checks, and there were all these charges to my dad's checking account. You know what they bought?
What they buy?
Yeah, the guppies. They wrote out checks. It was terrible. I could have told this guy. I could have saved this guy a lot of heartache if he had just gotten up with me first. Yeah, the guppies.
Aren't guppies too young to know how to read and write yet?
Not these guppies.
There's a hole in the story, John.
I trained these guppies personally. They were.
What did they buy? You didn't tell me.
They bought. Well, my Justice League comic book was sitting next to my dad's checkbook with the back cover facing up, and
I know.
They ordered sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys. Yep.
Well, what else would a guppy order? Suddenly, hundreds of dollars. Do you know how much $100 bought in sea monkeys back in 1975? Let me tell you.
You filled your whole waterbed.
We did. We had sea monkeys in those waterbeds. We didn't need the magic fingers. We had sea monkeys in it.
This is your producer, Miss Lee. Friend of the show, George O'Connor, is on the line.
So George keeps calling. I keep putting him on hold.
Put him on hold. Put him on hold.
I do want to tell you. Oh, also, this is sad news, but it was all over the internet. But we're going to laugh about it anyway. But I don't know his name. I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if you saw this in the news. a man's wife disappeared, and he's obviously the main suspect.
Sure, so he's
And
the husband.
he was in court. I don't know if it was the district attorney, but it's on YouTube, and they're reading what he looked up on Google the night after his wife was last seen, and it's all stuff like, how do you get rid of body? How long does DNA last? What type of acid will eat away body? What do I do with clothes used in a crime scene? It's just like every 5 minutes, something like that. And he's just standing there listening. It's sadly funny.
Yeah, it was. I don't think the district attorney has an open and shut case. I don't know if he can prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. No, because trust me. First of all, think of the American public. These are the people you're going to have on a jury. Americans are stupid. There, I said it, Tim. Americans are stupid. That defense attorney is going to plant some sort of conspiracy theory, some little kernel in some of these jurors. They might not find him not guilty, but I'll bet you there'll be a hung jury.
You think that's a common scam that the deep state sends agents into your house to do that?
Right. That's right.
I don't know.
Hunter Biden went into this guy's house and did the Google searches.
Can you imagine
to draw attention from himself?
Can you imagine if Hitler had Google? And then we caught him and it'd be like, how do you get rid of one body? And then 5 minutes later, how do you get rid of many bodies?
How do you get rid of many bodies?
It's not funny.
6 million times he made that Google search. It's like, come on.
How do you make car that looks like turtle? I'm not doing a German accent anyway. He created the Volkswagen, everybody. Or he paid somebody to.
Yes.
So anyway, bad joke. George was here and he kept mentioning Hitler. So I got to get back on track. We should just, every week we pick a wild card question. Let me pick it, John, real quick.
Okay.
What's number 8? The most likely to run off with the circus from this movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That could be anybody in this damn movie. How about the one least likely not to run off with the circus? Could we change it up a little? Because I can see any of these people joining the circus. I'm just going to say that might be my answer.
Maybe we should get to this movie.
Let's get to the movie.
Episode 50. We watched Teenage Hitchhikers, because this is a show, SETI BIMCO has been a show where we interviewed people about their embarrassing, funny high school incidents and watch movies about high school. I read about this on Wikipedia. I don't know if you saw that it said this film is one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite films.
Yes.
And I read about it, and no place in Wikipedia did I see it say this is kind of a soft porn.
Right.
Because I did it again. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Tim. It's okay.
Basically, soft porn movie.
No, because what you do is like hit one of the hyperlinks on one of the members of the cast, and it says that after a certain movie, she appeared in the sexploitation film Teenage Hitchhikers. But see, you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't.
I didn't do that.
The link.
So it's a sexploitation. It's not porn. I know porn when I see it. Those damn sexy M&Ms. Anyway.
Let's get into this setup here.
Oh. 2 teenagers who say they're from the city. I wouldn't even realize it, but they kept saying they're from the city, though. Hitchhiking in Florida. I'm saying it's Florida, John. You can have your own theories. There were no elevators. It's not,
it was the 70s. I'll tell you why I know it's not. But anyway, go ahead.
In my universe, it's Florida. But they go hitchhiking, and basically the plot is they go in search of freedom and adventure and, use their breasts to steal men's money. Until the end.
That's a good way of putting it. I like that. Using their breasts.
Until the end, when a group, seems like a group orgy. Anyway, they get all their money stolen from them.
We'll get to that later.
That's the plot. They go on an adventure. Mm-hmm. Not much of a character arc, but there is a tiny bit of a character arc.
But I am going to say... Okay, go ahead. No, you finish your little spiel.
Oh, I'm just saying it's the 2 main characters are called Mouse and Bird.
Mouse and Bird. Mm-hmm.
And I do have an actress here. I do have a note here. Mouse, she's a porn actress. I'm still like, oh, she's been in some porns.
She was in Wes Craven's directorial debut, The House on the Left.
Oh, that's right. I read that. They tormented her. Did you read all that? She went to Carnegie Mellon, studied drama at Carnegie Mellon. She did some Broadway, off-Broadway. She did a couple New York-based soaps. She actually she eventually wound up becoming a daytime Emmy-winning producer of all things children's programs. But interesting.
Yeah, but no, she actually was a very, can I say classically trained actor? Sure, I'll say classically trained. She had her dramatic chops. She had training.
Yep. Was she the blonde one?
She was the dark-haired one.
Oh, she was Bird.
She was
these girls mixed
Bird,
up.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say the music in this movie, of all the movies, the horrible movies we've watched, the music in this movie was, well, except for the music episodes like ABBA and Muppets. The soundtrack for this movie was the best of all. I'm not saying it's great, but it was the most tolerable. At the beginning, the opening. Later on, it got silly.
Yeah.
Because it's basically soft porn. But I'm sorry. I just thought...
No, you know what? I thought up until... I mean, even after, like, I started realizing this was basically a Skinamax film before there was Skinamax.
Right.
The dialogue is actually very clever.
Some of it, yes.
Like, if they had kept their shirts on and delivered the lines, it would have been freaking hilarious.
Some of it, yeah. I thought that too.
I thought it was very clever dialogue.
I want to tell you the line that made me laugh the most. So Bird has a giant hat. This is the 70s. If you look these people up, her hat just was distracting. It was like those, I don't know what you call those hats. You know Bird's hat? It was like giant pancake. People used to wear those in the 70s. The Jackson 5 wore them.
The big floppy hat. Like the alleged hippie who came in Fate. You ever see Fatal Vision or read the book Fatal Vision?
Fatal Vision. Oh,
about
the guy
the Green Beret, Jeffrey McDonald. He murdered his pregnant wife and 2 daughters. It all happened in North Carolina.
Yes.
And anyway, the big floppy hat. That's allegedly when the hippies, quote unquote, broke into the house and started, basically butchering his wife and children, but only gave him a little nick, on his chest. Yeah. Allegedly, she was wearing one of those big floppy hats and.
Back when you could blame things on gangs of hippie teenagers, thanks to Charles Manson.
On hippies, yeah. Unfortunately for Jeffrey McDonald, one of the first things they found on the scene was an Esquire magazine opened up to an article about the Manson murders.
Just like Google.
How do you get rid of a body? How do you stab an 8.5-month woman repeatedly? Those were these questions he was asking. Nice. But we're getting off topic here. The big floppy hat. Anyway, Bird and Mouse.
They're big. I guess the first big plot point is they get a ride with some hippies in a van who are just making music. Yeah. And they're like... what
was your opinion of the song?
What's that?
What was your opinion
Energy
of
Crisis. They were a band called Energy Crisis.
Energy Crisis. Yes.
They sing a song for these girls that no one wants to hear. It's terrible.
There was one person who just was like, I don't know, was he planning on harmonizing with the rest? I mean, there was just that one voice that was like...
I was going to say, that was a woman with them. There was 2 guys and a woman singing, but the woman was not singing.
No, it was very strange, but it was just the two voices were harmonizing really well, and then suddenly they just threw in this one voice that was like, okay, pick an octave.
Well, there's 2 women in there sleeping. They're topless, of course. Mm-hmm. At some point, there's all this slang. They're asking them which one of these guys is their old man, and she's like, "Hey, they're all my old man." What'd she say? I don't know.
Yeah, basically,
variety is the spice of life.
Spice of life, yeah.
There's all sorts of great lines like, "What's your game? What's your number? If you want to ride, you got to slide."
They say groovy once.
Because after they play them a song, they're like, "Okay, now it's you owe me."
Yeah.
Basically, that was it. And surprisingly, they're not into it. I guess that's the tease for the porn movie. They're like, "No, we're out of here.
We're out of here." Well, they did get to show the two girls that were already in the camper. They did show their breasts, so that was sort of the first gratuitous. So you already had that scene in it. They didn't need to put out right at that moment because you already got to see some titties. You had to have a little build up. Start out with some titties and then work your way up.
Because when they left, they're like, "We're looking for money," and then he says, "You want bread? Go fuck a baker." He said it more high. I'm not doing the high thing. "You want bread, man? Go fuck a baker." I got no accent tonight. I don't know what my accents are. Leftover Hitler.
Leftover. You strained a vocal cord trying to do a Hitler. And after that, just don't even try after that. It's been my experience.
Then they try to catch fish in the river with their bare hands.
Yes.
So they get the wet T-shirts.
Yes.
I don't know. They're from the city, but come on. They must know you can't catch fish with your hands.
What city? Binghamton? I mean, come on.
Well, it's somewhere in Florida. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's not Florida.
I'm sure it's California, right? Or are you going to tell me it's somewhere?
Actually, it is my old stomping grounds, Greene County, New York, is where they filmed this. And our house in Saugerties was like about 8.5 miles from the Greene County line. So I think it was like Route 23 they were on, like in the opening when they were by that lake and they were hitchhiking. I believe that was Route 23 or maybe 23A. I don't know. Well, that's sort of how all that looks up there in like the foothills of the Catskills, the Mid-Hudson Valley.
It does, but I say this takes place in Florida. So anyway,
New York, man.
They catch one fish because it somehow gets into Bird's panties. I don't know how that happened, but I don't know. We just had to see her panties.
Don't overthink this movie, Tim. It got into her drawers. Okay, that's all we need to know.
And it still got away.
I
was more concerned for these girls because that river is probably like full of heavy metals in the 70s.
Heavy metal? Yeah. Oh my God! Yeah. Guess where I learned to swim? In that water. You know, in the Hudson River. Hudson River.
Whoa. Well, it's probably better up there.
It was just full of mercury. I'm fine. I can eat as much tuna as I want to this day. It's like mercury poisoning. I'm like,
Were you catching tuna in the Hudson, John?
No, there was full of mercury at the time.
Right. I don't think there should be tuna in the Hudson. Anyway.
No, but there was mercury.
Well, I know.
There shouldn't have been tuna in that lake in Greene County.
Or mercury.
But there probably was mercury.
So they go to a restaurant, and
like a grill, like a hamburger joint.
And they just start dancing with their pants off because they want this guy to give them a free hamburger or two.
Well, 7.
They want 7.
They each want 7 cheeseburgers.
Damn hippies.
Yeah, and like one of the like going back, like in the first thing, like one of the girls says, "I wish I was just working at the country club this summer, getting it on a stack of cheeseburgers." I'm like, "Oh, do not order the cheeseburgers in that country club dining room." That's all I'm saying.
That's slang, John.
Yeah, is that slang? What is
cheeseburger?
What is getting it on a pile of cheeseburgers slang for?
The cheeseburger is slang for Philadelphian.
Oh. Are you sure that's not cheesesteak, Tim?
Yeah. Cut that out. It's episode 50.
Episode 50. I can't believe we made it this far.
Cheers, John. Here, we're having drinks.
I've got nothing alcoholic. I've got my.
It's the illusion, John. What's in that coffee?
I am schnockered out of my mind.
So they dance for them. They keep taking the kid's pants down. He keeps pulling them up, and there's a man with a beer, and his beer explodes like an orgasm.
Like an orgasm. He has the bottle. He has the beer bottle in his crotch, and it. Yeah. And yet, after all that, they don't get any cheeseburgers.
No. They're back on the road.
Road, hungry.
They meet a guy. His name is Guy Daggett, I believe.
Yes.
And he just happens to be a lingerie salesman.
Oh, just happens to be. How coinky dinky.
He was fun, though. He had a good attitude. He thought everything was funny.
Actually, I thought this was a fun movie.
So, yeah.
Orgies aside, I thought this was a very, very fun movie.
He was like, yeah, sure, try them on. You're just dirty hitchhikers. Try on the lingerie.
Yeah, you dirty hippie hitchhikers. Go ahead, try them on. Give me a blowjob.
Yeah,
which was unspoken, but
yeah, they took turns driving while he had sex in the back seat. And this movie, everybody had sex with their underwear on, so it was like must have been some sort of yes, some sort of rule.
That must have been back then. I don't remember being 8 years old and like having that big of a fly in my underwear. Maybe that was just for your dad's underwear.
Men
and then
in
by
the
the
70s,
time we got to wear men's underwear, they did away with that feature, I'm guessing.
Yeah. In the 70s, men never took their underwear off. I don't know if you know that.
Never take your underwear off.
Nope.
Isn't it like the Mormons? Don't the Mormons have that underwear they never take off?
Well, it's magic. They can take it off.
Oh. What happens? But then there's no magic.
Vulnerable. Then they're vulnerable.
Oh.
Vulnerable.
Okay.
So they have sex for a while. What happens they get pulled over by a goofy cop.
Pulled over by the cop.
And he's dressed like a woman at this point.
Yes,
and
the guy.
He's still just
not the cop. Not the cop. Daggett. The
Dick Daggett, the lingerie salesman. He's still laughing, having a fun time, and he's just dressed like a woman.
Yeah.
And that was you want to do the one? I did think this line was funny, or you want to?
No, you go ahead.
They're going to take him to court to see the cop says they're going to take you to see the judge, and before they cut the scene, he's dressed as a woman, and he's just like, "Is the judge single?" Is that what he says?
Something like that.
I was like, oh, it's kind of funny line. I don't know.
It was, yeah. He does go easy on women. That was another line.
Yes.
And so,
the cop warns them. There's a rapist loose. Like, oh no, don't go.
Yeah, Bird and Mouse have taken the guy's money. By the way, have taken Dick Daggett's money. They've taken a big roll of bills. They're starting to. This is where they start getting into the larceny.
Yes, larceny. Reading in the woods where it's dark. Yet it's sunlight.
Right.
Because there's a rapist chasing a woman through the woods.
Right.
So sadly, I have to say this. In the 70s, I think rape was like, I don't know, not taken quite as seriously. I know it wasn't. If you're a woman, it's very stigmatized. Just be serious for a moment.
What did you do? What were you wearing? What were you?
Yeah, and I think, it wasn't taken quite as seriously as is today because this rapist becomes part of the joke of the movie. Just a warning.
I mean, rapists aside, like if they made him something else, like I don't know, a plumber. It would have been. It was a very funny character, and the actor played it fantastically. Unfortunately, the character was a rapist.
Yes, he could have been an escaped convict. Could
they have just said escaped convict? But no. So he's chasing this young girl Jenny through the woods,
right? Who's also a teenager.
Actually, she looked more like a teenager than anybody in this movie.
Yes. She had just left high school.
She and the guy who, the cook back at the hamburger.
Right. He looked like a teenager, sadly.
Right.
They save her from being raped by, of course, I think Mouse gets naked and lures him away.
Right.
And they convince, it's all very like, ooh.
Yeah, they talk him into bondage. Basically, they're going to rape him. He thinks that's a hoot. Oh, I'm going to get raped now. Yes, and he's into bondage, and they tie him up, and they just leave him.
Yes.
And they take the girl Jenny with them.
Yep. And then they get picked up by Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yes.
Right.
Madam.
A rich lady.
A rich lady, yes.
Who just picks up these teenagers off the street. She's an adult. These are supposed to be teenagers. So again, another problematic scene that is not meant to be, which is meant to be humorous and porny. Older woman molesting teenage girls.
Can I just say out loud, two women together, that's disgusting.
Two women together, yes.
That's just.
Did you see
right.
how they made love? I never knew lesbians made love like that. They roll around on the lawn, and then they kind of roll over each other, and they get grass stuck all over them.
True. I used to go to the Pied Piper in Provincetown for tea dance on Sunday afternoons, and I just watch lesbians rolling around on the grass. It's their foreplay.
If there's no grass, can they still?
You really want to get them hot and heavy. Roll around on the lawn next to a U-Haul. Oh, let me tell you.
All right.
We have lost.
This is the 50th episode. We're canceled.
We have lost all our lesbian viewers. We have lost all our lesbian viewers, our listeners. We've lost all our rapists. All those guys doing time for rape in prison. We've lost them.
Right.
We're going out on a high note.
Yeah, they go to her estate. These girls take their shirts off again. I was getting tired of watching them take their shirts off. They take their shirts off more than Putin on a horse. Putin on a horse, John.
You were getting tired of it.
I just leave them off or leave them on. I'm tired of watching it. I take them off and put them on.
Just don't put them back on.
So they roll around with female partners. Oh, our new character is a virgin, of course. We got to throw that in there. The girl they rescued.
Right.
She's very... And the other... mouse makes another inappropriate joke. She's like, "You're a virgin. That's okay. I was a virgin until I was 11."
I was 11. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
No.
And she's carrying a picture of her boyfriend, who winds up being the employee at the hamburger stand. But she's carrying around like a 9x12 picture of him. I'm like, couldn't you have just gotten like a wallet size? Could you just have like a wallet size picture of him to carry around? That's an awful big picture to be carrying around with you.
I think she couldn't see well. She needed glasses.
Is that what it was? There's a little subplot probably in there. You're probably right.
It was. It's because they, I don't know. Then they go looking around old rusted cars, and I'm like, why are you looking around old rusted cars? It was a junkyard.
Yeah, but no. It's Farquhar's used car emporium. Farquhar.
Yes.
I wonder if like the makers of this movie sued the Shrek people. Because wasn't like the character that John Lithgow played, the prince who was going to marry Fiona, wasn't he Lord Farquhar?
I didn't see those movies, John.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
we were at an emotional
he was named Lord Farquhar, and then this guy from the sexploitation flick in 1975 is named Farquhar. I wonder if they tried to sue the Shrek people. Well, I would have. Oh, probably nobody left to sue. They were probably all dead of overdoses by the time Shrek came out. What am I saying? What am I saying?
I didn't catch that name, John. Farquhar.
Farquhar.
Well, Farquhar. He was masturbating in a car, which was his office, and somehow they didn't have the budget to show a new car. It's just a junkyard, and they're like, how much for a car that runs?
All this they've gone through stealing. Madam paid them for their sexual favors.
Right.
They sold the money from Dirk Daggett. They have $93. Dick Daggett, I'm sorry. They have $93.
Yes. Hey, lingerie was cheap back then.
I guess so.
It was made out of handkerchiefs. Made out of handkerchiefs and some.
But I mean, that rich woman who what did she pay them? I mean, $10 a pop. I mean, is it like that hooker in the van where he had to give her the $10 bill? Maybe $10 was the going rate for sexual favors in the 70s.
We established that last episode.
I guess so. Okay, there you go. Okay, now it all makes sense to me.
I kept getting it confused with $100. Anyway, we'll go back to that. So they have sex with this guy and very silly. I was getting tired of that. I'm like, and they take pictures, and they get money from him because he's buying the pictures from them. I'm not sure if it's for blackmail because he seems to have no friends. He lives in the woods in a junkyard.
Well, at first you thought it was for blackmail, but I think it was actually for his pleasure in the end.
Yeah, he's like, that's what I thought too.
This is worth $1 for a car. Yeah, I'll keep these pictures.
I'll keep these pictures forever.
Yeah.
It's the only girls I ever sawed. I got no accents tonight. Do an accent, John. Do Joan Crawford.
Where's the vodka? There you go. How's that?
So they eat at a diner, and they realize they're all mixed up, and the young girl's homesick, the virgin. Mm-hmm. And they get a free meal by putting a fake cockroach on their dinner.
Yeah, it's your turn to pay. And they put the cockroach on there.
This was our emotional turning point. The young girl is a virgin. She maybe wants to go home and not stay on this adventure riding through Florida, looking for elevators.
Or Greene County, New York.
So then they buy some clothes, and the store owner, of course, is peeping through a hole while they change.
Right. The same actor who played Dick Daggett played the owner.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he just took his toupee off. Because remember when the cops arrested him, he's like putting his toupee back on, like his toupee is falling off.
True.
And then,
true.
And then for that scene, he just played it without his toupee and sunglasses.
Isn't it funny in the 50s, 60s, even 70s, the toupee flying off? That was hilarious. And nobody does it anymore. It's like, this is awful.
Remember they did a whole episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show where Laura tells the world that Alan Brady wears a toupee?
Yes.
So then they get driving again, and they pick up this other girl and a rock musician.
They're heading for a blast.
Right, Mongo Donnie, who winds up being Kylie. Now, okay, and I had a little trouble grasping. Were they just going around in circles? Because it had been like several days since they had been to the lunch. Since they were been to the lunch counter, and then they pick them up on the highway under in disguise. I think they were just going around in circles.
Yes. They didn't have a map, John.
It was done in like an 8-mile radius, this whole movie. They never got anywhere.
No.
We've been by this gas station at least a dozen times. Oh, it's a chain. No, it's not. They were going around in circles.
In the car was Mongo, the ex-boyfriend of their new friend, Kaylee.
Right.
But he's got glasses, a hat, and he's a guitar player called Mongo, pretending not. Yeah, I don't know what he's up to.
I don't know what he's up to shenanigans. He's up to shenanigans.
He took a bunch of acid, is what's happened. That's what I think.
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
And he's the one giving them directions.
Yeah.
No, that makes no sense. Anyway.
Now instead of going clockwise in the circle, they're going counterclockwise. But anyway.
Right. They got all these great sayings in this movie, like, you want to drive, you got to jive.
Yeah.
If you want to shave, you got to behave. So they go to a big party where there's a very stereotypical gay man with a lot of bag.
Yeah.
But it was 75, so I'm surprised they put him in there. Unless that's a trope of 70s porn. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not a connoisseur.
Well, I mean, these are probably people like the lady who played, the rich lady who paid him for sex. She actually won an Oscar the next year as the producer of a documentary short.
Really?
These were all people. They were from the New York theater world and things like that. So sure, yeah.
Interesting.
Sure, a gay man, yeah. They're actually probably more welcoming to gay people in Broadway as opposed to Hollywood.
They weren't too mean. It was just he was just a joke. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. He was he was basically playing Paul Lynde. You know what I mean? Paul Lynde was a joke. It was all the stereotypical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're like, you want food? You got to groove. Because they got to give them their money to eat the food. It's a big party. That's basically a bunch of people. It's a big party they go to.
Yeah, it's an orgy. It winds up being an orgy.
Yep, because they're waiting for the food.
A too-long orgy.
A too-long orgy. Again, with some jokes, they're crawling around the same people having sex, saying, have you seen Kristen? Did you see?
Yeah. Have you seen? He was just here.
So, and this roving orgy steals all their money too, the bird and mouse.
Right.
And we're hoping that the virgin will have sex because that's also part of the plot, but they don't. They get separated. What does happen? They wake up and everyone's gone in the morning?
They wake up, they realize all their stuff is gone. And then all of a sudden Jenny shows up with the car, and because they think Jenny has stolen it all.
That's right.
And then she shows up in the car with the boyfriend. I think she was with the boyfriend. Yeah. And she's like, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. So they figure out it was the other girl.
Right.
So they still have the car. And then basically Jenny talks to the boyfriend, and he says, so he goes, I wasn't doing it with that. I wasn't doing anything with that girl. I was afraid I'd catch something. And she said, well, I didn't have sex at the party. So I wound up going out in the field and having sex. And they show it.
Yeah.
And then they walk off buck naked, bare-assed, off into the sunset. And I guess they all live happily. I think they all live happily ever after.
You're missing something. After that, after the party, the rapist shows up in the car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the rapist shows up.
He's like, get in. I'll teach you girls for tying me up in the woods. Yeah. He's still, they haven't escaped him.
Right. And then the boyfriend runs off to get the cops. And the cop shows up. And they get the reward for turning in the rapist, but for all the laws they've broken, he figures out the fine. He figures out that they will each get $12.54, which, as one of the girls says, is the exact price of a bus ticket back home.
Right. She's learned her lesson.
And then the boyfriend and girlfriend go have sex and walk off bare-assed into the sunset.
So this movie was the official movie of Florida. Every state has their official movie.
I still think it was the official movie. I think it was the official movie of Greene County, New York, but we'll just agree to disagree on that.
I feel bad for guys in the 70s. If this is the movie that was at Times Square and they were going in the theater in their overcoats and sunglasses, was this what they went to see? Because it was so silly.
They were more. I think I read it was kind of like The Van. I think this is one of those movies they just released in drive-in theaters.
Probably.
I think maybe I misread that, but as I said, I thought a lot of the movie was very clever.
Yeah, some of it was funny. It wasn't a serious movie.
No, it was gratuitous. There was just gratuitous nudity in there. Oh no, I'm not sugarcoating that. I'm just saying, like, a lot of the one-liners were actually very funny. And I'm sorry, like, the most I laughed. One of the times I laughed the most was the first scene with the rapist. I'm sorry, I just thought he was hilarious. The line, the whole setup, the whole premise was hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't, and I think it was like the buildup or lack of in this team before. It was like it's kind of an afterthought while they're putting Diggler in the cop car. The cop goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, there's a serial rapist on the loose."
Right, I know.
Like, oh yeah, by the way,
announcement,
and then cut to the next scene.
The next scene. This is the last time you'll hear quiz time theme.
I'll call it
the Bib Code
SETI Q&A.
Brain twist.
Answering quizzes.
Theme song. Do you like quizzes, John?
I do love quizzes.
Brainstorm.
I'll call it SETI Q&A.
Brain twist. The Bib Code. I love quizzes. The Bib Code.
I'll call it
theme song.
No.
You know why? This could be the last episode of SETI BIMCO.
It could be.
But let's get through our questions first. We had the wild card question, which person from this movie is most likely to run off and join the circus? Is that what I said it was?
That's what you said it was. How do you narrow it down? The whole movie was a freaking circus. I can't answer that. I can't answer that question. Every character there was like, I could see like the bearded lady, the tattooed lady, all the freaks in the freak show were in this movie. This movie was a circus.
Who would be most likely to run off in the circus and be drunk while running the one of the amusement rides?
The rapist after he got reformed.
Okay.
He went back to prison. He got reformed, and the only work he could find would be as a carny.
Of course.
Operating the tilt-a-whirl. Oh, okay, well, if you put it like that, then yeah, I have an answer. So yeah, he would be the one most. The guy in the greasy kerchief around his neck, like you go to some county fair.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not getting in this freaking ride. No, like, I can remember going to my friends, like, let's get on this ride. And I'm looking at the guy. They're like wall-eyed, cross-eyed. They got greasy. I mean, they look like they haven't bathed in a week, which they probably haven't. And I'm like, I'm not getting on this freaking ride. And I didn't. I never went on those rides at those
You never went?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
No,
What's
for that
good?
reason. I was looking up. They're all looking up like I should have been. They're all looking up at like the tilt-a-whirl
Yes.
or the roller coaster or whatever. They're looking up, and I'm looking around at the people actually operating, and as well as the people who put the ride together. I'm like, I'm not getting on this free. So yes, there you go. The rapist would have been the one to run off and join the circus because
Nice.
What other job could he find when he got released?
What other? Yeah. Good one.
Now we've lost our lesbian audience, our rapist audience, and now we've just lost our carny audience. Okay. Episode 50, by the way.
Episode 50. Well, there was a man in the diner at the beginning who watched the girls dance, take their pants off, and his beer exploded. I'd say he'd probably run off to join the circus because after those girls left, that the young kid who was the server, not barista. I want to say barista, but he's in a greasy diner anyway. He's the cook. He's the barista. He was so bandoogled by what just happened because he kept pulling his pants up. He said, "Good Lord, the circus must be in town." And that guy thought, "Is that the life of the circus? I'm going to join the circus." And he ran off, joined the circus because he thought it was full of dancing girls who took their pants and shirts off. But it wasn't. And he ended up driving those rides and just being an alcoholic, just like the rapist. They met each other later. They used to have knife fights for fun.
They tie each other's wrists together, and
he'd get drunk and remember that trick. He'd be like,
some of the original score recording of West Side Story play in the background. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yes. Next question. Who in this movie would most likely have a podcast?
I would say it would be the older rich lady who paid them to seduce them. And that is what her podcast would be about. Her podcast would be about, circling Greene County, New York, all the highlights. It'd be kind of like a podcast would be like kind of like Greene County, New York tourism, and also as like its little angle, the best place to find young women with whom to have lesbian sex.
So this podcast, does she have people on like Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah, she goes through. Giselle Ghislaine Maxwell can't be anywhere because of course she's doing. I don't care. Anyway,
this is before.
No, she just goes around and she talks to the locals and she says like, okay, where can I get like freshly made maple syrup and where can I? Where's the best place to go apple picking? And, she interviews all the locals and like, where's the best place to find like, little handicraft locally made? And where's the best place where I can find teenage girls who will have sex for money? And like all the old timers are, well, how old are you? How old do you want these girls to be? And be like, about 16, 17. Oh, well, then want to go down over to the hamburger stand. They're hanging around out there like flies on crap. Let me tell you. Go on over there. Go $10. I'd say 6, 7 tops. They'll do it for 6, 7 tops. These are the interviews she has with all the locals.
It's like the circus is in town.
It's like the circus is in town.
That'd be a good podcast. Very inappropriate.
I'd listen.
Very
I'd listen.
It's 1970s.
I wouldn't. I don't even have sex with women, let alone underage women for money. I mean, but yet I would still listen to that. Maybe to find out where I could get locally made maple syrup. Probably. Yeah. Where to have sex with teenage girls for about $6 or $7? I want to know where I can get the locally made maple syrup. God, is there any way I can fast forward this podcast?
Before Google. So my podcast, listen, this ties into the beginning. This is prophetic, John.
Mm-hmm.
You know that fish in this beginning of this movie, it swam into Mouse's underwear.
Mm-hmm.
That fish, this is 1975, so that fish was just the first step in some rare carp evolution. That fish didn't care about being in Mouse's panties. It was trying to communicate with her and announce the fact that they, the fish, were ready to make the move to land. But to be honest, that fish also wanted to be in Mouse's pants. Because this is 1975, as I said, and this carp thought that in the far-flung future of 1999, fish would walk on land with humans using their newly evolved lungs. This carp, which chose the name Bill Cosby, he didn't know, it was 1975. He's now stuck with the name. He also tried to tell Mouse that using her body to get food and money would leave her unhappy and broke.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to put that in there. The podcast would have this fish in the year 2005 or so. The fish would interview amphibians about how they feel about being behind in evolution. Amphibians are still only halfway there, after all. Sadly, he often talks about how he got into Mouse's pants. It's, remember when I got into Mouse's pants this, and I was in her pants in no time that? And if he had a human female on the show, he would somehow end up in her pants. This became a problem, and he eventually got canceled. Also, the podcast was called Bill Cosby Gets in Your Pants. So, because that was his name. That was the name of the fish. What other titles do you think this could have been? Because I wrote Carpe Diem.
Remember the Billy Ocean song, Get out of my dreams, get into my car? Could it be Get out of my dreams, get into my panties?
Yes, so there you go. That's terrible.
Now, see, I was thinking that you left off like the end of the story where the carp, once the podcast gets canceled, moves to Japan, lives in a koi pond, and winds up using his master's credit card and charging all these points to a Nintendo game.
Right. Well, I got it. Nobody may believe me, but I wrote.
It'd be like Paul Harvey. And
saw that story.
What did Paul Harvey say? And now you know the rest of the story.
And then that fish was arrested. George is still trying to call.
George, just keep him on hold. Seti Bimco, please continue to hold.
So do you have a TV spin-off?
I wonder what music we have when you're on hold for the Seti Bimco. Is it like Zamfir the Pan Flute? I bet it's Zamfir the Pan Flute, isn't it? You know, he sold more records in the UK than Elvis and the Beatles combined.
I think they're just 8-track tapes. Some technicality there.
Okay.
Is he still alive?
Zamfir, I have no clue. I don't know.
Who would have a spin-off show?
Oh, well, the boyfriend and the girlfriend. Yeah. In the end, they walk off totally naked into the sunset. And that would be the spin-off show. They're walking around all over Greene County, New York, looking for their clothes. And, they keep going back to all the places like, where they had the orgy and the diner where he worked and the clothing store. And they're still naked because the name of the spinoff show is Dude, Where Are My Clothes?
So it's a whole season. They're naked looking for pieces of clothes. It's a whole season.
They're just looking for it's called Dude.
I would love to see that. I would love to see how people do show. Like in episode 3, to find a sock, and he's like, "Where should I wear it?"
Yeah. And it gets real creative the way they cover up like because now it's network television. It's not like in film, so they have all these creative ways of how they cover up all their naughty parts. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's so funny they don't even need a laugh track.
Sometimes they get poison ivy and
Poison ivy, and the
just,
wackiness ensues.
Well, it's such a bad rash. That's how they cover up their nakedness. It's just their bodies so rashed. It's makeup.
Well, there was an episode where they covered up in the poison ivy. Yes, like, oh, look at these lovely shiny leaves.
No, I meant they had wounds, seeping wounds, John.
Because in one episode they dressed up in poison ivy to cover up their naughty parts, is what I'm saying. And then the next episode deals with the oozing wounds. What's your spinoff?
My spinoff is about that wacky guy, Dick Daggett, who sold lingerie, and he travels around his car selling lingerie. So see, in this movie, he was arrested. He's going to go before the judge. In that small town in Florida, the judge was Judge Hefty. They had a law back then. Highly illegal to dress as a woman, because this was Florida in the 70s. Today it's illegal to even think about dressing like a woman in Florida.
Gosh, I hope we one day have a governor who will ban all this.
Really? So he was sentenced to live in this little town known as Huge, Florida. The only town in Florida at the time with an experimental elevator. They test the elevator out using people on probation, or if the jails were full of librarians. A few of these people on probation died just from pushing the buttons on the old rusty elevator and getting tetanitis.
Tetanus.
So, tetanus? Tetanitis? Is tetanitis what you get when you play tennis?
I don't think tetanitis is a thing. I think it's tinnitus where like you have that ringing in your ears. But tetanus is like when you step on a rusty nail and get lockjaw.
Tetanitis is not a word?
Tetanitis is not a word. That I'm aware of. I am not a doctor. However, had it not been for Math 10, who knows what could have happened. But
I'm pulling a Will Shatner and just saying that's how it's pronounced. Tetanitis. Sabotage. Anyway, so Dick is sentenced to operate the elevator in a dress every day so people can mock him. But he doesn't care. He's a great mood. He laughs. He finds the best in every situation, and he laughs all day, asking people if they like his hair or his blouse. And he seems a natural running this 2-story elevator. It's only 1-story building. Mm-hmm. He gets the elevator up to the 2nd floor every day, even though it often takes 2 hours. So he ends up living next door to Judge Huge, and the judge secretly is attracted to him, but she can't admit her love that she likes this guy.
Oh, Shay, now you kind of lost me.
It could be a guy.
That would have been a show to
I don't know the sexuality. I don't know those.
They. Can we say they? We have to say they. We have to say they. We have to say they.
John, Dick was having sex with those women. He could be bi. I don't know. So I picked a woman. The judge is a woman. I'm being progressive. The judge is a woman.
Okay.
Right? Come on, get on board, John.
This is one of those things where you can't win because then you're making them a heteronormative couple. But the judge is a woman. So it's like, ooh, where do I stand on this? I don't know. But I'm interrupting you. Anyway, go ahead.
Dick is bisexual, okay?
And
so anyway, the show, we're stuck with them with this sexual tension. Dick's catchphrase is, if you want to go down, you got to fix that frown. If you want to go up, you need to... What? To tell me what's up? I didn't write this joke. So anyway,
is this one of those AI jokes? Is this like one of these things? Just give me a joke about like a frown being down.
AI wrote this joke.
This is one of those AI jokes, isn't it?
It was this. If you want to go up, you got to tell me what's up. See, AI is terrible. AI wrote this joke.
What was the name of the show again? Huh?
So this show is called Huge Hefty Dick.
Huge hefty dick. Okay, because everybody knows. No, we're ditching your jokes and we're ditching these AI jokes because then there was the crossover episode between Huge Hefty Dick and Dude, Where Are My Clothes? Where Julie and Mongo show up at Dick's house and try to steal some lady's laundry. Finally, they've got clothes. This is a couple episodes after the poison ivy is healed.
Right. Great idea. We're giving away ideas on this show.
We are giving away ideas. We got to start copywriting these things.
We need to answer George's call here.
Well, we probably should.
George O'Connor, author, friend of the show. He's calling.
No. George, you never get it right, Tim. You got to get it right. It's it's New York Times bestselling author and friend of the show, George O'Connor.
Yes. All right. So let's go to the mailbag. If you want to write SETI BIMCO with an E at gmail.com. We're on Instagram, SETI_BIMCO. I'm on Mastodon. I quit Twitter and Facebook. There you go. Is that good, John? You can write us a letter.
You can write us a letter. Sit down and write us a letter.
It's our 50th episode. 50th. We have a letter. Yeah, I just checked too. I would have sent it to you, but I just checked.
Oh, wow.
Is this
from a lesbian, a rapist, or?
Oh, geez. No, it's from our good friend Dirk Feelgood.
Oh, Dirk Feelgood. Dirk Feelgood's still listening.
It's half as long as George's, but we'll get through this.
Okay.
Because we love to get letters. We're going to read them. We're not upset about it. It's just George wrote a novel.
Well, more of a novella.
Well, here we go. Hey, Tim and John. Congratulations on your 50th episode. In this day and age of prime energy drinks and TikTok sensations, it's pleasing to know that if I want to hear middle-aged men talk about teen angst, I can on your show. And boy, do I.
That sounds vaguely illegal, but anyway, middle-aged men talking about teen angst. I'll get back to you on that.
John, I know you've had important espionage business to attend to recently, and George, also known as Fraser's Niles, has been filling in expertly, but I hope you're done murdering heads of state whilst they sleep, because I want to hear more stories about you having a couple of craft beers and getting your hair cut. What's your go-to beer of choice? I like West Coast IPA, but I don't know if that's a thing in America. Space Kitty, right?
No, well, I had the Space Kitty, but no, what I drink is, and I'm going to give them a plug, I don't care, local business, is the Prison City Brew Pub. They actually make their own beer on premises.
Nice.
So if you're ever in Auburn, New York, they have a second location now up on North Street where you can bring your dog to the outside seating. Nice. I haven't been there yet. It's a bigger, but I still go to the original down on State Street. You can see the prison from there. The original Prison City Brewery, which used to be John Stevens' dress shop when I lived up here in the late 80s, early 90s. And you used to go in there because that was where the Ticketron franchise was.
Oh.
So you have to go down. Speaking about, Dick Dangler and the laundry. You have to go down to the lingerie set. It was old lady lingerie. You have to go down to the basement and go through the old lady lingerie, and there would be the counter for the Ticketron, which was the precursor to Ticketmaster and all that. And you'd get I got my B-52s tickets there, and
nice.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the beer I drink. Prison City.
Prison City. Dirk continues. I've always found myself leaning into stories about teenagers finding themselves. There's just something so universally resonant about that notion. My favorite comics, especially, are often the ones like Young Avengers or Avengers Arena. You read that, Tim? It's very good. And an all-time favorite TV show is Buffy. What I'm saying is there's comfort and solace in what you do, and I appreciate the both of you for doing it. Oh, that's very nice.
Oh, that's very
I do not read Avengers anymore. I have not read those comics. Sorry, Dirk. I think my favorite comics are Avengers 1 through 6, the original with Jack and Stan. And I'm not going to explain why.
Yeah, don't explain why.
We don't have too many.
That's another podcast. That's another podcast where it's you and George, and all I say the entire podcast is Clark Kent is Superman. Did you watch Buffy, John? I had a friend who was a Buffy fanatic, but this is down in North Carolina, but she became a Buffy fanatic after it had already gone off the air. So back then, before streaming, you actually had to buy the DVDs. So she would buy seasons worth of DVDs. I think there's 7 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. And so we'd sit around, get high, and watch Buffy on DVD.
Watch the tube. Yeah. Get high and watch the tube. That's like a lyric. Anyway.
Getting high and watching the tube? Is that a lyric? It should be.
It is. It is. That's a famous song. Get high. Anyway, I forget the name of the band. The Eagles? The Eagles would say that.
Actually, it was just Eagles. There was no the. It was just Eagles. Same with the Eurythmics. It was just Eurythmics. It wasn't the Eurythmics. It wasn't the Eagles. It was Eagles and Eurythmics.
But it was.
There also was no Iron Man 1. It's just called Iron Man. There's Iron Man 2. There's Iron Man 3. There is no Iron Man 1. It's just called Iron Man. Stop calling it Iron Man 1.
And it's the Amazing Spider-Man, John. It's not Spider-Man.
Right, the Amazing Spider-Man.
George is calling. He hears us. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, we better answer. Are we finished with Dirk's letter yet? Okay, sorry, Dirk. We're being so rude going off on these tangents.
The real skill, I think, in podcasting is to not present, but rather talk to each other and your audience in a natural manner. And that is what SETI BIMCO does so well. I feel like I'm sat down having a nice cup of tea with you both whenever I listen. I can bring the biscuits, if you so desire, hob the knobs, the ultimate drinking biscuit. So congratulations again on being 50 episodes. And my guess for SETI BIMCO name origin is that you were both big fans of Seb Coe, the British middle distance runner from the 1980s, and co-opted a version of his name for your gang. I always preferred Steve Cram. Love to you and your families. Dirk. Oh, well,
see,
nice letter,
the only
Dirk.
thing about that, Dirk, is that I know exactly who you're talking about, Sebastian Coe, who was the gold medalist in the Summer Olympics in track. But he won his Olympic gold medals at the 1980 Moscow Olympics, which the United States boycotted because of the invasion of Afghanistan. Right. And NBC never ran the Olympics. So we never actually got, I remember CNN just starting out and they would be like, oh, so-and-so won medals at the Moscow Olympics, but they were not televised in the United States. So no, unfortunately, maybe had we seen them, yes, that would have been a good origin
What year
story.
was that?
1980.
What years? Oh, okay.
1980, after the Lake Placid Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
But no, I never actually got to see Sebastian Coe win a medal. None of us did here in the States because of the boycott.
Let me say that he wrote SEB space COE. I think he just made a mistake, not.
No, Sebastian Coe. Maybe they called him Sebastian Coe.
I don't know. Okay. So just want to say the name right.
Yeah. Seb Coe. Yeah, Sebastian Coe was it. Well, don't tell Tim.
You.
I know what. I knew exactly what Dirk Feelgood was talking about.
I did too. Can't you tell?
No, I can't.
So who's Steve Cram? Come on.
Oh, that I don't know. Oh, probably. I know not Sebastian Coe. Roger Bannister was the first man to run the 4-minute mile. Was he English? I think he was English. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Well, I will say thank you, Dirk. Very heartfelt letter. We
thank you,
around
Dirk.
Here a lot. But I do want to acknowledge your nice, heartfelt letter and congratulating us on our 50th episode.
And we still love the movie Mixtape podcast, even though you're on a little bit of hiatus now.
Yes, Dirk is from the Mixtape podcast with Marcy. Usually, she's on a little bit of a leave because she had a baby. Congrats to her. In fact, Dirk mentions our name, and I think we hinted. After 50 episodes, since the secret is not anything groundbreaking, we will reveal the origins of SETI BIMCO.
And I don't know if you kept in my my burial speech from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Who wants to tell?
Well, you tell them. You came up with it. You came up with it.
These meetings.
I just show up every Wednesday. You're like,
hey,
you want to do a podcast? I doze off during the PowerPoint presentations. No, it's like
people don't know.
It's like you came up with the name. I just show you're like, hey, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. You're like, we're gonna call it SETI BIMCO. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, sure. No, go ahead, you explain it.
Well, it's the name of a person. When we were in high school, an English teacher was named Betty Simcoe, and her name is E at the end, our English teacher. And I was in the newspaper with her. I don't know if John knows this. She created something called a quad, which it's a different name. It helped me as a teenager, and she wrote a little tiny book. Quad was question, answer, detail. It's just a way to organize something. If you're going to write an essay, ask a question, answer it, and then put the details in. For a kid, it was like helped you organize.
Right.
And she was in the paper for this, and I happened to be there. And like, hey, kid, want to be in the
hey,
newspaper?
you kid, you want to be in the paper?
You got lots of pimples today.
She's like, is this kid in my class?
Yeah, she knew me.
Oh, okay.
Can't you get a kid with less pimples? He's gross.
No, you couldn't. Actually, Tim, you were probably the best. Trust me.
So yeah, as I'm in newspaper. I got the clipping, and her name was Seti. And in fact, if I talk to older people who went to school there, her nickname was Seti Bimco for years. Every class.
Yeah,
everybody
a bunch of us
that.
dyslexic kids came up with that name. But
it was around since the 70s.
Yeah.
And I also chose this name because of what's happened. We realized we're going to run out of movies about high school. And then when George was here, we were like, it's a show about old men looking at teenagers. This sounds creepy. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what I intended. But we also
there you go.
wanted
but
to
it
interview
took on
people.
A life of its own, yeah.
Wanted to interview people about their funny high school experiences because I heard some funny ones, and we had some good guests. And what happens is it started to take up too much time to get a guest.
Right.
Nobody's fault that like not everybody has a great.
We had wonderful guests.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying it's hard to set it up.
I still want to go down to New York and have a cup of coffee with Karen Green.
I knew you were going to say that. Well,
like
if you ever come here, I'll try to arrange it.
I want to take Karen Green to Brooklyn to Peck Food Emporium and sit down with Theo Peck. We could record that. It'd be me, you, Karen, and Theo, and we can just do like a study. Maybe if we get to 100 episodes, maybe that's what we can do.
Okay. No, it's nobody.
I'm sure between the two of them, both Karen and Theo have, if not revenge stories, have thought of how to wreak revenge on someone.
Right. But you're getting ahead of yourself.
Just throwing it out there. Don't mean to have the production meeting. Don't mean to have the production meeting on the air here. And I'm sorry I didn't have time to get my PowerPoint presentation done, but.
Someday somebody will leak the tapes and the show will be over of me yelling at you.
The phone's ringing again. I think it's George. We probably should answer it.
Wait, I got one more thing to say.
That Zamfir pan flute music is probably driving him bonkers.
But I'm just saying that it took a while to organize guests. We loved all our guests.
Yeah, Marcy from the movie Mixtape Podcast was one of my favorite guests.
Georgia Dotson, who hung up before her file could complete uploading. People like that.
Oh, I love Georgia.
It happened to a few people.
I love that. I love them. I love them all in their own way.
Yes. And Natalie Kim, who ruined guests forever. That's what George says. So, anyway, speaking of George is on the phone. He's been calling through the whole episode.
Yeah,
is that the call waiting beep? Is that the call waiting beep I heard the whole episode?
Yes, that was it.
Real power move, just leaving me on hold that whole time too. Like I've just been sitting here listening in. So why am I calling in? Why did you ask me to do this and then make me sit and listen in to your weird podcast being recorded?
This is the 50th episode of Seti Bimco, and we just explained that the next episode will be episode 1 of season 2 with a whole new format.
What?
The new format.
A new format?
No more movies about teenagers in high school, right, John?
Well, we haven't been doing that for weeks anyway.
That is correct.
When you were gone, John, I explained to George that Trog was a Neanderthal.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't live till, far past 20 back then. He was a teenager. He was an elderly Neanderthal. I told George this.
Right, exactly. So 19 is still a teenager, which is why I was thinking when George was saying they weren't teenagers in Chopping Mall because one couple was married. 19 is still teenager, correct?
Yeah, but
you can be married at 19.
You could, but these guys are 30.
Yeah, we know.
Well, every teenager in every movie we've watched has been in their 30s. Have you ever seen Grease?
Yeah.
Do you know the only teenager, quote unquote, under 30 in that movie is John Travolta?
I believe that, but at least in Greece, there's a mention of a high school. Chopping Mall, just a bunch of 30-year-olds having sex on hobo beds.
You know what I just did?
Getting their heads exploded.
Hobo beds. Is that what they were selling at the mall in 1987? Hobo beds.
According to Tim, it was.
Hobo water beds.
Oh, yeah, waterbeds. Yeah, because nobody but teens would own a waterbed. Yeah, Tim does know what a teenager is, so I'm glad to hear that you all are abandoning that theme.
Well, we watched a movie tonight with, thank God there were no teenagers in it, but they were supposed to be teenagers.
Yeah.
So what is this new format, Tim?
The new format. No more high schools, no more teenagers, no more books. What are we going to talk about, John? Revenge?
Oh, you tell me. You're the one coming up with this new format.
You just sleep through the whole meeting we had about this new format. Anyway,
I was hitting the bagels and lox. I wasn't paying too much attention.
That's a smart move.
The format's the same. Going to watch a movie. We're getting rid of the whole teenager theme. We're just going to watch bad movies, and we are going to talk about the revenge sequels that were never made.
So let's do an example.
So let's
Muppet movie The Revenge. What happens?
We wouldn't watch Muppet movie, George. We'd watch.
I think it involves Miss Piggy either on a spit or being served with eggs.
I was going to say Camille the chicken cuts Gonzo from crotch to sternum for that time he fucked that turkey.
Jeez. This is not how the show's going to be, people.
He'd been drinking. It was dark. It's very easy to confuse your poultry.
Yeah, they all have it.
In Gonzo's
all cloacas look the same in the dark.
Exactly.
The new format would be like if we did Teenage Hitchhikers, The Revenge, which we saw tonight. And we'd say, this movie would be called Teenage Hitchhikers, The Revenge, or as it's known in Germany, Hitler's Holiday.
God,
there you go.
Damn it.
And then we can have some theories about what would happen in these movies. It's the same as quiz time, okay? And guess what? George is going to be here every week.
Wait, what?
Most weeks.
What?
Wait, how?
What?
How are we going to do this?
Whoa. What? You know what this is like?
What? What's it like?
This is exactly what happened in the Supremes with Miss Florence Ballard.
You always bring this up.
I am Miss Florence Ballard, and all of a sudden they changed the name to Diana Ross and the Supremes, and they boot Miss Florence Ballard out and bring in Cindy Birdsong.
Oh,
so you're gonna. So George is here to boot me out, is what you're saying, isn't it?
Wait.
I know that I have been drinking before shows. I know the evening gowns I wear on stage are getting a little tight because I put on a little weight. But I will not stand. I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
Oh, he put it around. I like to think I'm Diana Ross in that situation, though. I think Tim is more of a Birdsong sort of person.
No, Tim is definitely Diana Ross. You're like, don't make eye contact with him. Don't come up with any suggestions. Don't cross him. Oh no! In this podcast, Tim is definitely Diana Ross. And the sooner you learn that, New York Times bestselling author in front of the Seti Bimco show, George O'Connor, the better your life will be.
And now official Birdsong of the Seti Bimco podcast.
Official Birdsong.
That's right, Cindy.
For white people, this is like when the mamas
I'm just going to call you Cindy from now on.
No,
you can call me Flo. No. You can call me Flo.
No, I'm going to call you Maud.
Maud.
Well, I'm very excited for the new show. We've talked to you for 7 minutes.
When does this new? Are we taking a break, or we just launch right into the new format?
We went in. We're going into it.
Hells yeah, that's the way to do it. No break between seasons.
No. We can't afford it.
So the new title will be Seti Bimco 2, The Revenge.
Part 2, The Revenge.
I hope this isn't like that ill-fated spinoff, Dynasty 2, The Colbys.
It's kind of like that.
That didn't last long at all. That did not take off.
This is more like the Mary Tyler Moore spinoff, Grant. It's a different take on the character.
Was that a real show?
Lou Grant.
Was that really a show?
Lou Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. That hasn't
He
it?
spun off from a sitcom to a serious show. Weirdest.
Oh my
weirdest
God.
To a
twist.
serious show.
Did he murder anybody in the show?
No.
Not that we know of.
That would have been serious.
Little piece of Emmy trivia is that Ed Asner is the only person to win Emmys playing the same character in both the comedy and the drama categories.
That's right.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Did Mary Tyler Moore ever appear on Lou Grant?
No, that would have broken.
Nobody ever appeared on Lou Grant.
Nope.
Well, once he went on a Princess Cruise, and Gavin McLeod was on, but he was playing Captain Stubing, not Murray Slaughter. So I don't know if that counts.
John doesn't know what you're talking about.
I know. I look forward
George doesn't
to
know.
the new season being me missing every reference. I can't wait for it.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to work out so well, Tim.
Will.
I can feel it.
It's good. Well, no, you could. You're gonna just play like long jokes, and you're gonna create an entire show we never heard of called Flota or something. I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah. Well, it's like when you guys get talking comics. Like I'm like,
We're not going to do that. Not allowed.
I'm like,
Tim doesn't
I'm
let me
like,
talk comics.
I'm like Clark Kent as Superman. That's about as far as I go.
We're not going to talk comics.
Wow, so that's gonna be exciting next week.
Next week,
three
That'd be
people,
exciting. Three
voices.
on Seti Bimco, The Revenge.
Revenge. One of us will die. Tune in.
All right, we're really glad to have you,
All right,
John,
I'm looking.
George.
Oh my God, get my name right.
Next week is our first movie together, and I'm going to choose to start this whole thing off. I'm going to choose the movie, and it bridges two worlds. Because if you've listened to our old episodes, we changed things. But John remembers for a long time I had these quiz questions: who would fart in an elevator? Yep. Which character from the movie? Which character would become the CEO of an elevator company?
Yep, a lot of elevators.
Our first movie with our new
a lot of elevator humor.
Our first movie with our new format is The Elevator from 1974 with the all-star cast. People get trapped in an elevator.
Oh no!
This is a movie.
I hope it's an actual plot point that, like, it's the 70s. Let's say Telly Savalas just cheeses a beefer in the elevator. That's some drama.
Is this a theatrical movie or a TV movie?
I believe I forget, but it's on YouTube.
All right,
Mr.
An all-star cast.
Planet of the Apes. What's his name? He's in it. Mr.
Charlton Heston?
Yeah, he's in it.
Courtney Cox.
Jesus, the chimp.
James Franciscus?
The chimp.
Roddy McDowell?
Yes, Roddy McDowell. God.
Roddy McDowell, third time's the charm.
Nice. Can't wait.
All right.
All right. We'll see you all next week.
Goodbye, George.
All right,
Bye,
George.
John.
Goodbye, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night, Mary Ellen.
Seti Bimco is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly. Produced by Miss Lee. Music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
I just looked at The Elevator while we are doing that. There's literally been 3 movies at least called The Elevator, but this is the 72 version.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's got
Okay.
It's just got 70s stars, semi-stars.
I'm looking forward to this.
Myrna Loy is
Got
in
someone
it.
named Candy Samples who plays Peter's friend's lover in an uncredited role. That's the top cast on IMDb.
It is not.
It literally.
I'll bet you she dies in the first 10 minutes. They didn't even have time to give her a name.
Tim.
Wouldn't Roddy McDowell be top billing?
Tim, is this 1970? No, this is a different film. Because listen,
I'll send you the right one.
The elevator 72. The occupants of a stalled elevator soon tired of waiting for rescue and begin to reminisce about various sexual escapades. It's a porn.
It's not.
This is literally.
It
sounds like Teenage Hitchhikers, if you ask me.
We just watched porn. I picked a porn by accident again.
Did you look?
Exactly.
I literally.
Yeah.